Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to everyone all around the world. Thank you for joining us today. I am your host, Esteban, and this is the Esteban Hour podcast. How are you today? How was your weekend? Well, today we are talking about Gen Zs. Yes, Gen Zs. Gen Zs are very, very important when it comes to politics today. um, they have a lot of clout. They have a lot of things to say and a lot of things on their mind. Now, when it comes to Gen Zs, also known as the post millennial generation, they're starting to make their mark on politics, right? As the first generation to grow up entirely in the digital age, Gen Z brings a unique perspective and set of skills to the table. They are tech savvy, socially conscious, and driven by a desire to change, which is the most important part. Gen Z is also known for their activism and involvement in social injustice movements. They're passionate about issues like climate change, racial equality, and the LGBTQ plus community and rights. And their ability to do things online has been amplified. It amplifies their voices to create change. We've seen these through movements like the March of Our Lives and the global climate strikes. In addition to their activism, Gen Z is also becoming more politically engaged. They're registering to vote in record numbers and are actively participating in elections. They're demanding that their voices be heard, and they're pushing for politicians who align with their values. Moreover, Gen Z's unique perspective is shaping the political landscape that they have. They've grown up in a time of political polarization and are often open minded and accepting of different views, different viewpoints. They are also more likely to challenge traditional norms and push for innovative solutions to societal problems. Overall, Gen Z's impact on politics is just the beginning, but they know they're already making a difference, and they are. Their passion, their activism, and willingness to challenge the status quo is reshaping the political landscape and ensuring that their voices are heard. So, with that said, today we have a special interview, our first interview with a Gen Z candidate, 24-year-old Sarah Michelle Smith from Islip, New York. But before we introduce her and bring her in, let's bring in my co-host for today's show, Mr. Mike Felino, who is the co-producer, co-creator, and contributor of the Esteban Hours Week in Review. Hey, Mike.
Hey, how you doing, Esteban?
I'm doing well. Thank you for joining me on this special
Absolutely.
interview today.
Love it.
As I'm trying to speak to to the audience, I thought I put my phone on Do Not Disturb, and I see I haven't. And
It's funny. Gen Z and the younger generations, their phones don't make a sound anymore. I've been told mine makes too many sounds.
right, mine's too.
Yeah.
Especially when someone is calling that you do not want to talk to right now, and they
Yeah.
just don't get the hint. Every time you keep putting no, they keep calling over and over again.
Yes, they do.
And then they feel bad. They want to know why you're cursing them out when you call them back, because this person will get a curse out.
Take a hint.
Take a hint. I'm talking here. I've only, said no 5 times. Okay. So, as you know, we're interested in getting more views from today's Gen Zs, right?
Mhm.
Especially candidates, right?
Oh yeah.
And we're totally excited to have our special guest on today,
Mhm.
who can tell us her viewpoints on the um, position that she is running for in November of 2023. Why she's running for it and what would make her the best solution for her constituents in Islip, Long Island.
There it is.
Okay, so um, without further ado, help me introduce and bring in Miss Sarah Michelle. No, I was about to say Sarah Michelle Gellar. Do you know who that is?
Yeah, coffee.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Help me bring in and join with us Miss Sarah Michelle Smith, 24-year-old, running for town clerk for the town of Islip in the great state of New York. Welcome.
Hey guys,
Hey,
how are
Hello there. How are you?
I'm good. It's funny. Sarah Michelle Gellar, I had a shop teacher in high school, and every day when he called my name, he would
oh,
call Sarah Michelle Gellar. Yeah.
I'm sorry.
oh
I'm
man.
sorry, but I'm glad that at least that has happened.
Yeah, you're not the only one.
All right.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Okay. So when I was 24 years old, I really didn't care much about politics. Okay. In fact, uh, Barack Obama's candidacy is what brought me into caring more about politics. And then since then, it just took off from there. Um, but it's amazing how many of today's generation wants to get involved into politics and is interested in being involved in politics, heavily interested. Social media has changed everything today, everything. And it's definitely good to see more young people getting involved in the political atmosphere and in political affairs. And it doesn't matter whether it's a Senate position or Congress position or town clerk. If you've got to be run for something, meaning if you need votes to achieve a specific chair or seat, that's all that matters. They're all the same. And so that's what we're here today. We're here to promote Miss Smith's candidacy for town clerk in the city or town of Islip, New York. And we would like the audience to see what she has to offer. What are her plans and ideas that she plans to do once she gets into office? She will get into office. I'm telling everybody right now, she will get into office. All
Go
right,
vote.
Thank you.
go vote. Okay, so let's start with the first question to you, Sarah, and that is to please tell everyone a little bit about yourself and what brought you to this point of involving yourself into politics.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. I am a licensed master social worker. I've been working in the field for about 7 years. Um, and I'm pretty involved in my local community. Raising my sister really kind of made me familiar with different like local groups, and I kind of branched out from there. And working as a social worker, I kind of served a lot of folks in my community in that capacity. So I was seeing a lot of the different struggles and the different things that mattered to my neighbors and my community members. And I realized how much policy really affects people's day to day lives, whether people realize that or not. It's the truth. And so that's really what made me passionate about looking at local policy, local government, and seeing where I can bring my social work expertise, my social work connections, and kind of make that have a broader impact. And I was actually asked to run for this position because of my social work background, because of the different issues that I help people kind of work through, and resources I connect people with, because the position really does focus on connecting people to resources, making sure they have their information, and that it's safe. And those are all kind of things that I was doing in a different capacity already. So it just seems like a good fit.
Awesome, awesome. So one of the things that I've noticed about you and talking with you previously is how mature you are for a 24-year-old. And so you just mentioned that you've raised your sister. I bet that in doing that, that helped that helped teach you or instill in you maturity, values, responsibility. Did it not?
Oh, I mean, absolutely. And nobody gets anywhere alone, right? So there was definitely people along the way that were able to instill their wisdom in me, and I'm forever thankful for that. But when you're caring for a little human and you're yourself kind of a little human, you have to kind of learn things on the fly. You have to be street smart and you have to be well read and you have to be able to be responsible for another life. So it definitely makes you grow up quick.
And that's awesome though, because not many young people learn that factor by the age of 24. Sometimes they don't learn it until they get into their 30s. But you did, and so that's awesome, and you should be commended for that. And I'm sure your sister loves you dearly for that too.
We're pretty tight. We're like best friends.
That's awesome.
Pretty special. Yeah.
Awesome. Okay. So Mike, take it away.
Well, I'm so glad you wanted to do this interview, because we've known each other for a couple of years on some social media, because specifically of your work in the community. It's actually funny. I was just posting memes about stuff, and then one day I think you might have suggested, hey, look what's going on near us, because full disclosure, we actually reside in the same town. So I'm very invested in who my town clerk is. But one thing I wanted to know about specifically is that since you have been so active in supporting demonstrations at local high schools and schools, specifically Connecticut High School, over the treatment of LGBTQ students. So how did you get involved with that specifically? Is that related to your social work or a special interest you have?
Yeah, I mean, I think like at the very core of it, one of my values is that people should be able to love who they want to love and show up in this world being their full authentic self. So just off the bat, like that's really important to me, and seems like a no-brainer. Like I think across the board, people would agree with that. But I am part of the LGBTQ community. I'm bi. People I love are too. And that's my community. Like that's the high school that I grew up in. That's the high school that my sister's going to. And I know teachers in that school. There's people that I consider family. And, when I saw that there was a teacher that was basically being threatened to be fired because she had a pride flag displayed. It's just really scary because that has direct effects on the mental health of the faculty and the students. And that's real. And we are just coming out of a pandemic where that like mental health aspect is even more important. We're dealing with a situation that has never happened before the pandemic, and the mental health stipulations are still playing out. So it was unneeded. And it's really detrimental. And it's something that I think really needs all the attention possible just for the well-being of everyone in the community, honestly.
That's great. Yeah, I feel that a school should be a safe space, right? And that's a phrase very important to the LGBTQ community, because very often they're lacking a safe space. So it actually fits right into the position you're running for. The way you described it is very much to create a safe space for all citizens of the town to be able to have a resource to go to when they need information to help better their lives, or if they have an emergency and they need some assistance. So it's really cool to see how, your direct compassion not just for yourself and your sister and your community, but how important that is in a school environment, how that relates to the position you're running for. So that's pretty
Yes,
cool.
and as you mentioned, many folks from the TQ plus community, especially children, go through so much at home.
Yeah.
And so when they get to school, they would like to just be kids in school. Who is advocating for that security?
Honestly, I mean, I know that myself and some uh, other community members kind of headed a lot of different demonstrations, protests, just in favor of pride flags and kind of just like you were saying, Mike, a safe space. And some teachers as well are heading that charge as much as they can. It's a really challenging time for teachers right now, so it's kind of a communal effort. There is an investigation launched by New York State into the school district that's pending. There hasn't been any movement in that yet, so we're all anxiously waiting. And there is a pending lawsuit as well. No movement has been, shared of that yet, but we're all kind of standing at the ready.
Okay. So what it sounds like to me is you are a candidate with a heart, with a mind, and a soul. You're not spineless. You don't care about just your point of view, but you care about all different factors, all different types of people, children, cultures within your community. Is that the way that you plan to? Um, is that the way you plan to be a clerk in your town?
Absolutely. I mean, what's the point if we're not running that way, right? I mean, I don't care if you call yourself a Republican, Democrat, or anything in between. I just want to serve you and make sure that your rights are fulfilled and make sure that you have the services that you need, your loved ones have the services that they need. And if there's needs that aren't being met, I want to be able to help with that. That's really what I want to do, and that's what I believe government should be.
And do you think not do you think, but would you lie, steal, and cheat once you're elected into office?
I don't plan on it. I don't know. I definitely would not. I don't see a purpose for that. Thankfully, right now, like I've worked my whole life to support myself and my family. I've always worked multiple jobs. And right now, I think we're all in a good groove with that. I don't think that there's a reason for me to be going into any nefarious actions. I have everything I need. I chose to be a social worker to serve people, and that's why I'm choosing to pursue public office as well.
So let me elaborate just a little bit more on that question. Thank you for your answer, by the way. More of what I'm trying to get at is that as the town clerk, as you mentioned, you are responsible for certificates, birth certificates, death certificates, marriage certificates, and so on.
Records.
Now, but would you, if a Republican wants to come in and it's a hateful Republican or a MAGA supporter, let's say for example, that needed a death certificate, would you lie to them and tell them that there's a problem with the system and you aren't able to do that? Or would you gaslight your way through it, or would you serve that Republican because that is your job to do? It does not matter whether they're Republican or not. That's what I'm trying to get.
No, of course. I mean, like I said, you can be Republican, conservative, Democrat. I'm going to serve you the same way. Because at the end of the day, we're all just people. And even if people come in ranting and raving and you might not even like me, and that's okay. You don't have to like me. Trust and believe, as a social worker, I have had plenty of clients that were not, my biggest fan. And it's really just about making sure that everybody gets what they need and has the same, gets the same service at the end of the day. That's what it's about.
Excellent.
She doesn't sound like one of those thin-skinned, lazy Gen Z people I'm always hearing about. I don't know if you feel that way, Esteban, but something's
Not at all.
wrong in the messaging that I'm getting.
No, not at all. She does not come out that way at all to me. And I know that she is not coming out that way to the audience as well. And those are the type of candidates and people in office that we need. We need more Gen Zs, and we need more Gen Zs that are willing to do their job that they're elected to do, not go by party affiliation, not kissing anyone's behind, but to just do their job, period. Especially if they were elected by their town's constituents, and that's what we're trying to bring out here. The Esteban Hour only endorses candidates and folks that are willing to serve their entire community at 100%. Okay, not at 50%. Okay, those are the type of candidates that we endorse, that we like, and we would love to see in office. The political atmosphere right now, the divisiveness of those that are only willing to do things for their own party is overwhelming and ridiculous. We know which party it is happening mostly on, but we can't say it's not happening on the Democratic side either. So to hear fresh blood to say they would not do that is refreshing.
Thank you.
Okay.
And I do want to just say one thing.
Yes.
When there are people that are ranting and raving, and they're coming in and they're in such a state of anger and frustration, and maybe saying things that are a little out there, a lot of times that comes from a place of hurt, right?
Yes.
That comes from a place that there's something wrong, that there's been something that happened in their lives that was really painful, and whether or not they've come to terms with that. But I think, like, for me, that's how I try to have compassion for those people. And some days are better than others. But that's one way that, I can see myself being able to, just serve everyone in the same manner.
All right. All right. Go ahead, Mike.
So I guess everyone would want to know what their candidates think about national politics, what's going on in the world. But I know you're very focused right now, especially because we're getting close to the election, on local politics. So how much impact do you think, or do you believe, local politics and elected offices have on the future of America? And do you think the power that we're looking for to change things for the better comes in local office or the national office?
That's an excellent question. I think it's so important to look at your local elected offices. It's a lot of times people look at the state of the presidential elections, and they feel really depressed, and they just it's easy for them to say, it's all the same. There's no hope, and I'm not going to vote. And I would really like to push back on that, because at the local level, there's legislation and ordinances passed every few months. It's fast paced in comparison, compared to the federal government, and compared to higher elected offices. You can have such a huge impact right at your village or town level, even by going to the meetings. I used to go to school board meetings and be the only one attending. School boards are elected positions, and I was the only one sitting there. They represent thousands and thousands of constituents. So, I go to civic meetings, and the whole purpose of civic meetings is to be a connection between the people and your local government. There's never anyone under the age of 40 there, from my experience. No offense, but I would love to see people 18 and up going and making their voices heard, even if you don't agree with where I'm coming from. This is what this is about. And I think a whole generation is being lost because we are refusing to look into our local elected offices. There's so much change to be done.
How do you think we get more people from your generation to go to those meetings? School board meetings, maybe you can get some people to go if they have siblings in a school, or they went to a school and they hear what's going on. I've been to a couple of school board meetings myself that I know you've attended, and I was actually, I guess the only word I could think of is impressed at how many of the students were there and young people were there, and even alumni of the school that are there because they still have siblings there. So how do you get more of your generation to go to these, what can be boring meetings, but are important meetings?
Yeah, I think that's a complicated question, but a
Mhm.
good one, especially because a lot of times, depending on where you are, the meetings are scheduled purposefully within work hours, so people can't
Ah,
attend.
Yeah,
That's one
I
way
heard.
that
Yep.
boards are, trying to keep people from coming so they can get away with things.
Right.
So, and especially young people, a lot of people work around the clock, right? Like we
hmm
don't work just 9 to 5. Some people have other jobs after that. Um, so, I mean, one way you can try and look into your town meetings and see what times they are. If you can't attend, see if they're recorded or they're live
hmm
streamed. Start going in slow, doing what you can, and then make a group out of it. Bring a couple friends, go to a meeting, see what these people are talking about, and then go out for drinks after and talk smack about them. And see what happens from there. Make it fun.
Hey, that's what the founding fathers did, right? There's always in DC, how many bars are where the rebel, where it started, where they discuss the future of America. Well, maybe you're 100% right about that. I like the idea of going to groups because it might be awkward if you go by yourself. You want to be surrounded by people that especially if you think it might be a confrontational situation. So I love the idea of making like an evening of it, get a bunch of friends together and then go have some cheap apps at Applebee's. I don't know. Does Gen Z go to Applebee's?
Oh, I think we do. I
Oh,
don't
okay.
like to speak for a whole group of people, but I will take that one. I
All
think
right,
we
good.
definitely do.
Yeah, I thought Mike was gonna say, Applebee's is a little bit, 1960s.
60s, come on. We were going there in the 90s.
It's
I
timeless.
Oh,
It's timeless. They better sponsor
they better spy. Yeah.
Hey, okay. So, Sarah, what made you shift? Since you previously ran for a position on your school board, what made you shift your focus to a wider, a bigger position of public service as ISLIP New York Town Clerk?
Yeah, I mean, I was asked because of my social work experience, because of my demonstrated commitment to my community, because I don't have an ulterior agenda. I want to make my town better and support my neighbors. And thankfully, that came through in I guess my reputation. And I was asked to run for this position, and I kind of molded over for a bit, and I realized that, this particular office has so much potential for somebody coming from a social work background. I feel like my particular set of skills would be able to really positively impact constituents by taking into account, my different experience working with substance use. Some people that are experiencing substance use and different resources I can pull in from that, like Narcan training, since that's so prevalent. Also, our town used to have um, a human services board where they would focus on bettering the lives of the constituents, and actually it was dismantled, it was disappeared. It
Huh.
doesn't have a budget anymore, and that's one thing that myself and my companions on the slate are really excited to kind of bring back, because what is government doing if it's not taking care of its people, right? So
Bingo.
that is really what drew me in, because I know that is where social workers belong.
So it seems like you have a true call to service, not any innate ambition. You're looking to serve your community. That's what called you. And I think it's important for everyone to know that just because you get into politics, which technically this is, even at the lowest level, that doesn't mean you want to have so much ambition that you want to take over the world. You want to be president. And maybe you do, and maybe you want to someday, but service doesn't have to be synonymous with power, with grandiosity. Service comes from the community, and that's what you're, I think, bringing to this. You're showing that a true call to serve your local community
That's right.
could be the highest calling, and there's nothing wrong with that.
And what I like about what Sarah mentioned, just mentioned, is she said she has no ulterior agenda for wanting to volunteer in this position. And I like that she said that, because that's the type of attitude that we need more of. No hidden agenda to do something. We know in today's politics, there are a lot of folks that are running for positions just so that they could do things for their party, right?
Right.
Which is a hidden agenda. When you really are supposed to be running for an office to help your constituents, to be there for your town or your state or your city. And so I'm very happy to hear that that's what she said. And I hope that the audience is taking that in, and realizing that she can be neutral. It doesn't matter what party you're from. Miss Smith can be and will be neutral in regards to becoming or being elected as town clerk of Islip. Okay. Go ahead, Mike.
Well, we were talking about Gen Z and how important it is to get the younger generations involved and really committed. So, with what's been going on lately on the national level, and there are some things that might have to do with people of a certain age either glitching or being told how to answer things in committee meetings on both sides of the aisle. It's important to note, how do you feel, or if you feel that there needs to be any age restrictions or maybe cognitive tests to go past a certain age? But if we're trying to get the young generations in, when should we stop running for office?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's definitely something to be said about term limits. Um, just gonna put that out there. But I think that, you know, in order to really be able to expect like our young people to run for office, we have to take a look at just like how much it entails. And our country, we have very different ways of like laws surrounding campaign finance. And it's a lot of times um, whoever raises the most money type of situation. And I will say that there is a great way around that, and that is shoe leather. Like, that is hitting doors and like getting on the pavement and doing that. But our young people that really do want to run, that are working class, like people, they need to support themselves. We have great young people. Maxwell Frost is an example. He maxed out all of his credit cards in order to run. And he won, but what if he didn't? So
Right.
I think it's really important to take a look at the circumstances as well, and really find ways to kind of advocate for fairer elections, and awareness around that, and then say, hey, young people, we want to support you and uplift you. Let's get this running.
That's right. And that's why you can use all the help and support that you can get because of what you just said. There's no difference to a 24-year-old's candidacy and a 45-year-old's candidacy, except the fact that perhaps the 45-year-old has more funds, more connections, and more methods to help fund themselves, right? Whereas that 20-year-old may not. What an excellent point. So what are you doing for funding?
Yeah, so I am raising, of course, I'm raising money. I'm going to be sending y'all that information as well.
Excellent.
And we're also working in tandem with some community members that are doing just volunteer work. A lot of this, when people raise money, they, when they're running for office, it's a lot of times it goes right to lawn signs. So like that's a direct ask we have is, would you like to donate this amount of money so we can get lawn signs? It's also for palm cards and that kind of thing, and if you want to run ads and stuff. So a lot of times it's hard to see like the tangible what you're actually giving money to. It's not something that I can go and pay my bills with, right? Like that's not allowed. I can't take
Yeah.
that for me, or my student loans or anything like that, right? But that's really where the money goes, and it's really word of mouth. We do some small house parties where we'll ask friends, say, hey, could you have me over for like 10 minutes and
Oh, cool.
have some friends over, maybe like 5 to 25 people, and we'll all sit down, bring some apps, bake some cookies, and y'all can hear why
Yeah,
I'm doing this. And
that's a
then
good idea.
you'll
Yeah.
move, you can give me $10 and also here's some free lawn signs. So that's really how, we're getting the word out there. We're trying to be scrappy, and we're trying to be fair, because a lot of these folks are living paycheck to paycheck.
Yep.
And
That's right.
I really have a hard time expecting them to give me anything, because I get
That's awesome. That's absolutely awesome. I think that the one of the main things you just said that just came in that was like boom boom in my head is baking cookies.
Listen, food is the way to anyone's heart.
That's
That's my
true.
philosophy.
A
Okay.
good dip will get you some votes, let me tell you.
Okay, all right.
It's just the way it is.
Totally.
Absolutely.
90% of TikTok is food videos, so there you go.
That's true too. That's true too. Okay. Sarah, do you believe national politics is a reflection of local politics or the opposite?
I really think that's like a chicken and egg question.
Hmm.
Um, I think that, a lot of it depends, because some people ingest the like national news on a really high level, and they see it and it's instant, and they're like, yes, that's what's happening. And then it influences their vote on the local level. It influences who they volunteer for at a local level. So in that sense, absolutely. But I think that a lot of times we see people living paycheck to paycheck. They're worried about getting their kids to school. They're worried about getting childcare and being able to make next month's rent. So,
Right.
in that sense, I think that every area has unique issues. But at the end of the day, everyone just wants their basic needs met. They want their loved ones taken care of. And I think people are really sick of the vitriol, the back and forth,
Mhm.
no actual conversations that we're seeing at like, debates and a national level. I really think that's turning people off. And that might be the intention.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
Absolutely. What's the best way for people to participate in change they can be proud of and stand behind?
Oh, I love that question. I think find what you're passionate about. Find something that really lights that little fire in you, and that makes your heart sing, and something that will uplift people you love, or a cause that you love, and chase that. Chase that down. Like, don't lose sight of that. I think that's so important. And if you need help finding whatever that is, that's okay. It takes time. It's not easy for everybody. But don't lose hope. Like, even if it's talking to a friend, seeing, what their passions are. I don't think we ask each other enough, what each other's like biggest dreams are. But I think that's really important. And especially in your community, if you see that there's a need and people aren't getting what they need, you can be that person to step in, because somebody needs to.
That's right. That's right. So there's an element of humanity within a candidacy, is there not? In other words, so you're running for office, a political realm, but you're still a person. You're still a human. You still have feelings, and thoughts, a heart, a mind, and a soul, and so does every one of your constituents, every one of the people that live within your town, that you will be administering, these records, and keeping in order everyone's records of that time. So isn't it just healthy to treat everyone equally, treat everyone as you would want to be treated, or your own family?
Absolutely. Absolutely. That was it's funny you say that, because I grew up with my dad saying that like all the time. That's his main thing he always says. He's like, we all bleed the same color, as
Yep.
long as, like, I'm going to treat you just as I would treat anyone else. It doesn't matter what you look like, where you're coming from, what your story is. We're all just people trying to get by every day. And
That's it.
That's it.
you
Yep.
know, what's more, there's nothing more to say than that.
That's it. That's all. Now, if only we can get half the country on board with that. It's, it's
Well, it seems so simple. Just, I hate to say the golden rule, but
it
just
seems
don't
so
be a jerk. Like, you can believe what you want, but I think what Sarah said about getting caught up at the high level of everything, you forget the humanity that you share. You still got to go to the store with the people, that your neighbors, that you might hate the flag they
yes,
have.
yes.
And if you're in the store and you start fighting over that, and you start throwing tomato sauce at each other, like, where's that going to get everyone?
Right.
So you could interact as humans on some fundamental level. Let's build on that, right? But
That's right. That's right. That's right. Okay. All right. So let's take it. Let's move the conversation a little bit into generality of just what's on your mind and what kind of a person, so the audience can feel a little bit more on a normal basis, or somewhat personal basis of who you are, Sarah. The first thing I want to, well, no, I'll let Mike ask the first question. Go ahead.
all right, let's go with one that I'm interested in, particularly. It might not be the one you think I might ask, but I'm going to go in a different direction. If you could have a conversation with someone you admire but have never met, who would it be?
Oh, that's a good question. There's just so many people that it could be.
Alive or dead? Doesn't matter.
Dead. I think Kataji Brown Jackson, honestly.
Nice.
Just because she really got like a hard reception, and she handled that masterfully. There's not many people that could have really like stayed true to themselves in that kind of way, and
Hell yeah.
her record speaks for herself.
Yeah, she's awesome. Bet she bossed those people around. Like, no, you're done. You're not asking me that. That's stupid.
Right. That's right. Stuck to her guns, like did not for a second sweat, like
Yep.
truly admirable.
Nice.
Nice. That was an awesome response to that question. Okay. What is your best, what is the movie that you like the best, your best movie?
That's a really hard question, because I really didn't, and I don't watch many movies. I work a lot, so I'm not very current with movies.
It could be a movie from your childhood.
Yeah, I think probably, honestly, me and my sister grew up watching like Mary Poppins. Like if she was having a bad day, I would put Mary Poppins on. I'd be like, "Go girl, I'm gonna make brownies." Like you watch that.
All right.
Love that movie.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
That's an excellent one. I was raised in a household of mostly women, and every time they played Mary Poppins on the TV, my mother and my sisters were watching it, and it was long as hell, but I've seen it so many times that I could sing the songs just out of nowhere, and I love that movie. Great movie. Great movie.
That's classic.
Okay. Actually, I noticed here that Mike had the question of what was your favorite and least, what was your favorite and least favorite movie. But I think we're good with Mary Poppins.
Okay.
That tops it.
Hot seat.
Okay. Next question, Mike.
What do you do, since you're always working and now you're running for office and you're always trying to help people volunteer? What do you do to bring yourself back down and center yourself at the end of the day?
I have found that boxing really helps me. I tend to take really early.
Really?
Yes. And it's been so centering for me, so stress relieving. And honestly, amazing for my mental and physical health. Like, I can't recommend it enough. Just punch.
Absolutely. America, she's a boxer.
Yeah. Do you picture the people that frustrate you throughout the day on the heavy
Right.
bag? Come on.
Right.
I just focus on the moves. I'm like, okay,
Yes, that's
what we
it.
do.
Good form. Good form. That's all that
Right,
matters.
exactly.
Yes.
It's all about the form.
Yes, yes, yes.
Right.
Boxing is an excellent form of exercise and
Yeah.
also mental relief. An excellent form to that. So kudos to that. Wow. Beautiful, beautiful. Okay. What's your favorite song?
Oh my gosh. So I love music. I am constantly listening to music all the time. So I think it's really unfair for me to say like one song because
Okay.
I love all songs, but I tend to always try, like I always listen to Adele at least once a day. I love her. And I All My Life, Lil Durk, I listen to that also quite frequently. So yeah.
What was the second thing you just said?
All My Life. Do you
All
know
My
that?
Life.
Yeah.
Is that from Jodeci?
I think Lil Durk sings it.
No jerk. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
You got to excuse me. My error is.
Now we're doing the generational age gap thing because I'm lost too, but that's cool.
That's okay. That's okay. I can go on and on. I can just keep going. I'll send my Spotify list and everything.
All
That's
right.
not a bad idea.
And we love Adele. The Esteban Hour is a fan of Adele.
Definitely.
Hello.
No, he was almost my person that I would inspirational person I
Oh,
would
yeah.
do, but yeah,
That'd be a good one.
right up there.
I have a cousin who is in love with Adele. She loves Adele, and every time Adele comes to New York, she goes. She tries to go and
Nice.
get tickets for her. Adele is an awesome artist, definitely. Okay. What are your hobbies?
I was going to ask that. That's a good one. That's good.
I mean, I box. I do that. That's also a hobby. I'm currently also in law school, so forgive me. A lot of my time is now studying, if you want to call that a hobby.
Yes.
It can be. Learning is a
Yes.
hobby.
Yes.
And I walk my dog a lot and I take him to different things. Also, I tend to, my sister, if you can call this a hobby, is really into theater. She wants to be on
Nice.
Broadway. So I
Awesome.
tend to scout out different plays for her to audition for and help her like practice and give her like, you know, critiques, not like critiques in a bad way, but like she'll sing something from you, like, tell me what you think, like, what should I change? So that's kind of, something we do.
I love that. You got to get your sister on the show. She's got to come
Oh,
on and sing something for us or act out something for us. I would love that.
She's a great singer, like truly. She is operatically trained, and she got into like
That's awesome.
opera. Yeah, that she couldn't do because she's 15. But
Yeah.
Nice.
That's awesome.
Nice. Okay. All right. Turning it to a little bit towards the national political realm, and starting here at home in New York, George Santos. Should he resign from office as part of a plea, or do you think he's going to trial?
I mean, he should. Like, he should go. He should have resigned a long time ago. He should be gone. I think that lots of Republicans also agree. So I don't think that shouldn't be controversial. But I don't think he will. I mean, I think that something's to be said for certain people that do run for office that have ulterior motives, as such as power and ego and other issues, and that seems to apply to Mr. Santos. So I see him fighting it out to the very bitter end.
And I think that this was an appropriate question to ask you because you are also running for office in Long Island, and so is he. He is a sitting congressman for one of the districts in Long Island. What's the chatter that you hear in your neck of the woods, or just in Long Island as a whole as you move around? What is it that you hear?
Yeah, I typically people don't take him too seriously. People,
How could you?
right, like people kind of it's like embarrassing, now that I am in the city. Sometimes people hear that I'm from Long Island and immediately they're like, oh my God, are you George Santos's constituent? And I'm like, no, but thank you for your concern. So like people really, they just want him gone. Nobody takes him seriously. Nobody has respect for him. And how can you when you lied about everything and made a bad name for young people running for office
That's true.
and like LGBTQ people running for office? Like, how dare you? You
I
know?
just about to say that. I was going to
Yeah.
say he should be ashamed of himself. I mean, in so many levels, on so many levels. I mean, okay, all right,
Yeah.
let's
Yeah.
move on.
That's another show. That's another one.
That's another show. Okay, what is your standing on abortion and women's rights?
Yeah, I mean, I think that that's healthcare, right? Abortion is healthcare. Um, that's just what it is. Banning abortion is not going to stop abortions, right? Like people are still
Yep.
going to be getting abortions. They're just going to be getting unsafe abortions, and more people are going to be dying. And that's just statistically proven. So I think
That's right.
it's the banning of abortion is an effort to control women's bodies. It's control and oppress people,
Yep.
especially poor people, because rich white women will be able to get abortions safely,
Oh, yeah.
and poor people, minorities, will not be. But that's by design. That's part of this whole conglomerate of
Yep.
fuckery that is banning abortion. So
Okay.
That's it.
Recently, in the headlines, Congresswoman Lauren Boebert from the state of Colorado was caught on camera groping her gentleman friend and vice versa. Um, should America stand for politicians such as this that do not have any morals or values or ethics, especially in the public eye and around children?
no, I saw that. It's completely disrespectful. It is absolutely like terrible conduct. Really, for it's inappropriate for anyone, right? And then you're on top of that an elected official, and you are representing the U.S. at that point, right? That's our reputation. And that's what people are going to see that people in the U.S. are up to. That's people. That's who people are electing, and it's really embarrassing. And that's something that I would never, ever endorse or stand for as somebody in an elected office.
Okay. And you just answered my next question that I was going to ask, that when you are elected as town clerk, would you degrade yourself by doing something like that? But you just answered the question. Thank you. Okay. We recently experienced, or I should say, watched some wildfires that had total devastation on the island of Maui in the state of Hawaii. What were your feelings about that when you first saw the devastation of the people and the crying and the anger that they had?
Yeah, I mean, it was completely heartbreaking, and their emotions are completely valid. I think a lot of their pain, as a Long Islander, as Long Islanders, we had Superstorm Sandy, and it was not
Yep.
the same depth of what they're dealing with. But I think it helps us really empathize with them. There was also some billionaires that were trying to
Yeah.
purchase land after their home was scorched and burnt, and they were trying to purchase land in Hawaii. And I find that incredibly dystopian
Yeah.
and disgusting and horrifying. And my heart just breaks for them. And I really, I hope that we're, collectively as a nation able to give them support in any way.
Okay. I'm not sure if we asked this question or received an answer, but what are your talents? You mentioned boxing, but what are your talents? Can you sing? Can you dance? Can you act?
um, I'm working on developing the boxing as a talent. I wouldn't call it a talent yet. But I don't know. I used to write, so I really
Ooh,
enjoy writing poetry. I used to write stories. That
nice.
was once upon a time I wanted to be a writer. Um, but I did used to sing for a little while. I was in like a local church choir when I was very young, and like throughout school I stayed with singing. But my sister absolutely got the talent. She has the genes of a singer, of an actor. She is absolutely stage ready. Um, yeah, for me, that's definitely the sibling that got all the talent.
All
I
right.
love the sibling rep. You're going heavy on it. I dig it.
Right.
I
Right.
love it. I love it.
It's true.
Your best plug-in is your family.
That's right.
Yeah, no, it's true.
She's an amazing.
Okay. Excuse me. So as we wind down, tell us what you want your constituents to know about you.
Yeah, I mean, we covered a lot, but I really just want my community to know that I genuinely care about the people that live in my town, and that's why I'm doing this. I'm not doing this because I'm part of a machine, because I am power hungry. I really just want to make the clerk's office a really compassionate and warm place with real resources, tangible resources that will benefit you and keep your record safe. Because I feel like my training as a social worker has more than prepared me for that, and I feel like I can really serve everyone that would need my
And
office.
in 3 or 4 sentences, why should they vote for you?
I would in 3 or 4 sentences.
Or as many sentences as you want.
I mean, I would
Why
just
should they vote for you?
because I will serve everyone in the same manner with the same dignity and respect as I would anyone else. And I'm fully capable of serving my community better than my opponents.
Excellent, excellent. Miss Sarah Michelle Smith, thank you for coming on with us here at the Esteban Hour podcast and talking with us about your strengths and what you want to see happen as you are elected as town clerk. Sarah Michelle Smith is on Facebook, Instagram, and Threads at Sarah Michelle Smith. You can see that on the banner screen as it's scrolling across. We will get to the audience any funding opportunities or methods that you can by means of supporting Miss Smith, and we will continuously keep in contact and update you, the audience, on Mrs. Smith's progress. What day is election day?
November 7th.
November 7th. That is the star on the schedule. We're hoping that Miss Smith will come back before November 7th and share with us the progress that she will be undergoing for the next month. You know that you are always welcome back, even once you get into office. Please do not forget about us little people.
Never. Thank you so much for having me.
You are very welcome. Okay, so Sarah Smith is just one of the Gen Zs, or the first Gen Z that we have interviewed and spoken to. We're going to have many more leading up to Election Day and even after. And we are, we are accepting not just Democratic, but, if there are any fair-minded Republican Gen Zs that would like to be interviewed, sure, no problem. We're not biased from anywhere, but just keep in mind, fair-minded. Okay, no conspiracies, no lies, no threats, no violence, no nothing. But we are overwhelmed and pleased that many more young people, regardless on what side, are willing and interested in getting into politics and being part of the political realm and the political family. Again, Sarah Michelle Smith is running for town clerk position, an elected position in the city of Islip of New York. Please go to her platform, social media accounts, read up a little bit more about her. Send in any questions or comments that you may have pertaining to Ms. Smith. We will answer them. We will forward any questions that we cannot answer for you to Ms. Smith, and she will respond to you accordingly. Please follow, share, and like this podcast. It's always greatly appreciated. We love you all. If anyone would like to, as well, has a story or an experience, or if you are a candidate yourself, please do not hesitate to get in touch with the Esteban Hour. And with that said, thank you to my co-host, Mike Felino. We will see you on the next Weekend Review or Sound Off. And I wish everybody a great, great weekend. Much, much love from the Esteban Hour. If you've had a goal or accomplishment that you've achieved today, don't forget to say to yourself, this is how we do it.